Get to it. This is going to be platinum tank. Okay. Checking the profiles. Early in placements. Nice. A 4-stack, eh? Yuck. 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 Yuck already.
Oh, right. I'll take tank.
Okay, so look at this. Let's look at the composition. Good tank lineup. Probably the best tank lineup you could pick here. Fuck, move out of the way. So the Orisa and the Roadhog work really well together. Very strong front line with the renewable shield of Orisa and a nice spam damage so they can't approach you for free. The hook, great threat. You can kind of hold hotel. You can make people back off from your shield. The hook, the damage, the right clicks, the ultimates, comboing the hook with her halt. Awesome choice of tank. Awesome choice of tank. Healers, Mercy is a good choice here, specifically because we've got the double hit scan. She can damage boost the McCree or the soldier, as well as heal the Ana if the Ana gets in trouble. Ana isn't the worst pick ever because we do have the nano boost onto soldier. However, I don't like the double primary healer pick because this loses a lot of utility. Like, Lucio wouldn't be very useful because we have Orisa who's more or less mobile, but you know, a Zen or something instead of the Ana would be a pretty good pick because we have one tank who can heal themselves and one tank who can't, which means that we only really have 1.5 tanks to heal. So as long as you have your Ana doing most of the healing onto the Roadhog and the Orisa, and Mercy kind of babysitting the 2 DPS plus keeping Ana alive when she gets dove. Ronadona, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub, my friend. Great Winston streamer. Tier 2 Winston streamer. If you want to check him out, give him a follow. Streams pretty regularly. Good stuff. But yeah, so Mercy can damage boost the two of them, and Ana can focus on the tanks. But the big problem here I see is basically that we're running double hit scan. And we talked about this more extensively earlier on Wednesday. But double hit scan, or kind of like overlapping your DPS onto the same role. So instead of having like one hit scan, one projectile, or one flanker, one hit scan, or something like that, if you have both hit scans, the enemy can counter both of your DPS in the same exact way. So 2 hit scans is okay for defense because you can kind of demand that they attack you in a very specific way. But if they take hotel from you, or your soldier doesn't try and hold the high ground, this is going to go very poorly for you very fast. Hello, new viewer. Oh, hello, Skitsosh. Schizo Control. Welcome to the stream. Hope you enjoy it. Emong or Mickey? I gotta go with Emong. Any soldier positioning tips, maybe for Blizzard Rule of Defense? Pretty much any soldier positioning tips always falls down to get on the high ground and stay on the high ground until you're gonna die if you try and stay up there any longer. How do you counter hit scan? Diva.
Let's go, guys.
Also, hit scans require line of sight, so if you kind of like fight in tight corridors and don't give them long lines of sight, then they really can't do much, right?
Positive vibes, guys. No talk.
We can win this game.
If we
work
Let's
together.
go.
I do like the positivity. And I love that you're already talking to your Orisa like, I'm going to be looking for those orbs. Just trying to, you know, lay down the coordination right off the start. Love it.
I'm gonna pick Junkrat, so we have
I
some
love how many
Varus
positive people submit VODs to me. It's just, you guys are doing, like...
Alright,
Also,
get on
I love
I
it.
have 130 ping, and playing McCree makes me want to kill myself.
I don't blame you, my friend. We got Zarya.
Wait, isn't Emong a pro player already? He's not. He's just a streamer. Just a streamer.
Zarya, soldier.
And the dude can get to like 44, 4,500 pretty easily while streaming. That shit is insane to me. I really like you taking the angle here, but again, if they go hotel, like hotel is free right now. Like, normally on King's Row first, having a Junkrat in hotel is really strong. So if they attack from this line of sight or this line of sight, you guys have advantage. I didn't actually catch where your soldier is, but hotel right now is free. So if the enemy rushed hotel, your team composition would fall apart. So just be aware of all the possible routes that an opponent can attack you. And instead of giving them 3 reasons to not attack you here, and no reasons why they couldn't attack you from alley or high ground, and no reasons to prevent them from moving hotel. Try and spread out, or at least have an answer for all of the possible routes of attack. Putting all of your eggs into one basket, this line of attack is going to get you fucked. So, you should at least be watching hotel.
Okay, Hanzo.
So, headshot, now your tanks, now your Mercy has to heal both tanks and both DPS, which is okay because you have self-heal and the soldier has healing station, but a headshot on a Hanzo is never a good thing. And Orissa's shield wasn't rotated early enough in order to actually kind of like block the incoming damage, but this is a fantastic hook. We pull in Reinhardt.
Rein's one.
Your Orisa shield still isn't being very useful. You should be pulling back to alley here. So this is something that a lot of people don't do, even in Masters and Grandmasters. But you've gotten a pick, right? You lost your Ana, so you're fighting 5v6 right now. So if you kind of like stay on the point where this Orisa is, and you were, and try and fight this as a 5v6, you're gonna lose. So what you should be doing is slowly retreating back out to alley, which is kind of like behind you on the back left, with your Orisa shield, and waiting for as long as possible for your Ana to actually return. Give them 1 tick if you have to, 2 ticks if absolutely necessary, and then push back on as 6. Because the second benefit of backing out to alley here is that they will push on to point, and that will force them to leave cover. You can spam them down. They've got a Reinhardt, right? His shield doesn't last forever, whereas compared to a Orisa shield who's renewable, if you back out to alley and start spamming the shield, it'll break and you can recontest. It is way better to give up 1 or 2 ticks on this point and recapture than trying to prevent them from taking any ticks at all and then losing the entire point, which I think is going to happen here. They swapped Junk instead of Kree. Oh, that's a fantastic swap. That's now they've got a really strong composition. Really strong composition.
Ryan shield super low.
They do have Junkrat.
Oh, I'm dead, dude.
Nice hook onto Zarya. I am well aware that wasn't who you aimed for, but we'll take it, right? Yeah, your Orisa's shield positioning is terrible. Like, the Reinhardt was able to just walk through it. The shield wasn't protecting the Orisa. And there's no real reason that Orisa should die like that with her shield still up. So that Orisa shield positioning kind of fucked you. But your Ana should almost be back. The Reinhardt shield is low, so maybe if you stabilize and get some healing, you might be able to fight back, but it's unlikely. So, you know, you did a pretty solid job here, but your main tank didn't manage the aggression or the rotation well enough. No call to stabilize or back out. She goes down right as your main healer's coming back. And now you have 2 primary healers for a single self-healing tank. It's completely overkill. Lack of utility is going to make you lose this point.
Like we're just stalling.
So now basically you have 2 options. You either retreat all the way or die on the point. So you only really want to die on the point if they're not going to cap in the next 10 seconds. Because on this second stage here, if you die, they cap, then you get shit spawned here. But if you kind of like stay off the point like this and then get staggered, then you're just going to be, well, staggered and not have time for the first fight on defense. So we'll have to see how you play it here, but right where you're standing here, this arch is a pretty decent first point hold as long as you don't get too staggered after first point. 5v6 isn't unwinnable in lower SRs, but it certainly has a lower win rate.
What?
Your hooks are fantastic. Did you not melee after that?
What?
Ooh, you didn't. Yikes, 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 yikes. Yikes, 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 yikes. Yikes, 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 yikes. That's like... That is super important. We're going to open up Overwatch. Not even like 15 minutes in and we're already opening Overwatch for a demo. It may not have been enough to kill, but there's no reason not to do it, right? So, a couple things about Roadhog's hook itself. Oh, hi, Squid. Bye, Squid. So a couple things. Just if you hook somebody, look at where they end up. They ended up like there. Okay, so this is actually quite a distance away. So if you hook the person, they end up there, and it's actually quite a distance away, so that you can't, you know, can't shoot them. So anytime you hook somebody, you should be walking forward into the hook. So hook, walk forward, so that you're actually closer to them. Because ideally, you want to take a step forward before you shoot to put more of your actual gun into the person's face. Huh, bam! So you want to be taking, you know, a step. Hey, look, there's the edge. You want to be taking a step forward before you fire. So that's the first mistake with your hook combo, is that taking a step forward is going to dramatically increase the amount of damage you do. Now, you don't always have the luxury of being able to actually take that step forward, because in the process of taking that step forward to actually shoot the bot, the enemy will leave their stun.
I normally do this, but my melee was on cooldown. Feels fine.
I hate it when my melee goes on cooldown. So yeah, basically hook, walk forward, and then if they don't have any sort of ability like fade or reflect, then you can take a pretty dramatic step forward before firing and meleeing. But if they do have any sort of those ability, you kind of have to a good rule of thumb is if they have an ability like reflect or fade that they can use after your hook, then if they have those abilities, you want to just be holding down the left click during the hook animation so that it fires immediately. And then as soon as it fires, you can cancel that with your melee, but always be walking forward into it. Boop. So like that. So, and then if you want, you know, to add another thing on top of that, right? Even if you're too close, you either want to be, you know, shoot canceling into your hook, or if they're at about this range, you can, like, your right click itself can headshot. So if you right click on something and you're too close, it's just that ball of unexploded shit. Whereas if you right click and it actually explodes into a shotgun, it's actually a shotgun. But that right click ball thing, before it explodes, can still headshot. And it does 100 damage if you put that ball of unexploded scrap into somebody's head. So if you have the ammo, what you can do is kind of right click hook, right? So if you are going against a really high health target, like a Reaper or a Mei, or a full health target like a Moira or something, just throwing out the right click before you hook them is always going to, like, even if you only get 30 damage on them, the fact that that's going to just increase the effectiveness, and there's almost no time delay, right? There's almost no time delay at all. So if you have the ammo, and on Roadhog it's super important that you count ammo, instead the full hook combo is going to be right click melee, walk forward, you know, left click melee. And maybe you just fucking one-shot with them with the right click. But an often forgotten side of the actual hook combo is just right clicking first. So, and yeah, where exactly to aim on each hero changes, but you know how it goes. Oh, you need a step during the hook? Very, yeah, super important, especially against characters with fucked hitboxes like Ana. If you don't take that step forward before you shoot, you're not going to get the one shot. It's just not going to happen. What does staggered mean? Staggered is what happens when your team dies, but then you die like 10 or 15 seconds separated. Because at the higher levels, team fights happen as 6 people. So if 5 members of your team die and you're still alive, and then you die 15 seconds later, since the entire team has to wait for all 6 members to be together before you can start the next attack, it means that you have delayed your team by 15 seconds. And if on a Koth map, for example, 15 seconds equals 15% of capture time. So staggered just means that you died out of order or at a different time than the rest of your team. Is there ever a reason to back up after a hook, pull them a step closer for your team maybe? No. That is a good question though. If you're trying to bring a person out of position, what you can do, so if you're trying to displace a person, so we can hook and step back, right? But it doesn't really drag them very far. And if you want to displace a person, like farther into your team, but what you do instead is you turn them to the right. So if you want to actually put a person farther into your team, instead of trying to back up, the way better pick is to hook and pull, because it will pull them sideways, right? So, and you can kind of like back up. So if I hook him, I'm gonna like back up to the left. So hook and drag him into your team like that. You kind of just like whip him around, and that will make the walk back even farther. Come here, right there. So he ends up over there instead of, let's stand right here. So he ends up there basically, compared to being hooked into your team. And it's not a big difference. It's only about 3 meters, but it's enough. Boop. And then he has to walk back. So if you are trying to use your hook for displacement, just turn 90 degrees one way or the other. It's Hey Guys 8. God. Plat chat.
Where is one hit? I got my ult.
Your team, how are you surviving this long? Are you gonna actually get that kill?
Oh, you're Lego, bro.
Anyway, that was a bit of a ballsy ult.
Yeah,
Winnable.
Nice, guys, nice.
Plat just being Plat things, for some reason you were alive for way longer than you had any right to be, and then you not, like Reinhardt stepped in a trap and died, and then your Junkrat got a 2-man Riptire, so Junkrat essentially got a 3k here and might actually allow your team to recontest, which is huge. One thing to be careful of is that if you turn the LOS between them and their position to the right... Yes, Pavels, that's correct. So the line of sight check is a lot easier to break if you turn left or right. Do you click with mouse or keyboard in OS? I use keyboard. Are you a tank, Bane? I play everything.
Daddy.
Gonna get high ground for ult.
Alright, good call.
Exclamation mark coach me is how you submit a VOD
Watch
to me.
that. Hanzo's probably got ults with the kills he's got. Or do you use
He
the
got
ult?
a lot of picks there on me, so he probably built it up quick. He did not use it yet, though. I'm pushing a main that Ryan might have ult soon. There it is.
That's unfortunate. The one thing is that your hook stuns. It's more than just dragging people to you. Your hook stuns. So anytime a Moira uses Coalescence like this, you can stun her out of it. So the very first thing I would have done when I heard this Moira using Coalescence is I would have flanked through Hotel just to try and whip her with my hook to knock her out of Coalescence. But you get basically... you get airstriked, right? Junkrat Concussion Mine knocks their Rhine vertical, and he comes down with the hammer down. So I don't think that dragon's going to kill anyone, is it? I don't think it's even on that Orisa. Oh, no, it is very on that Orisa. So Orisa's dead. You get pinned.
Okay. Oh, shit.
I think you're going to survive this, though, is because you're going to take a breather.
Sorry, he wasted his
Phone scratch.
I need help.
Oh, you're purpled. Rip you. Rip you. But... decent. How about that name drop in the Austex video? I saw that, yeah. Climbed 400 SR since I started watching your stream. Halfway to GM now. Thanks, baby. Hey, no problem, bud. It's all on you. Don't let me take the credit.
Ah, that
Zarya is
is
like
anti-heal.
1%, by the way.
Sorry, just contest best we can.
He could have interrupted Shatter, probably. Man, that would have been 200 IQ hook if he'd done that. I don't think I'd have been able to pull that off.
Hold this to time, at least.
But whatever, you had one recontest on a fight you should have lost in the first place. Your Junkrat is going to get staggered here, so you're going to see that he died at 155, but if the point gets capped before 145, your Junkrat is going to be shit spawned and you're going to have to wait for him before contesting.
Sounds good.
Climbed 20 SR since I started watching. Now that, I will take credit for that. Excuse me. So right here, now you're up as 5, but your Junkrat got shit spawned. So you're not going to have a full 6-man team to engage or contest them with. But it is a very, very common Platinum mistake to not be wary of where the rest of your team is and try and take a fight with a numbers disadvantage.
Sure.
So you're up at Bookstore, which is a very good holding position, but A, where the fuck is your Orisa, and B, your Junkrat is still staggered. Fallen 200 SR since starting to watch? Well, obviously you haven't been listening to my advice. Come on.
Hanzo, whoa. Okay, that was close.
Phone
What?
scratch.
Moira, careful.
Yeah, so you guys are just tempting fate here, waiting to get fucking crushed. if the enemy team had any sense at all, they would have one man on the payload and just come up and just brutalize you and send you back to spawn, and you wouldn't even get a fight on the first half of Kings Row Streets. So, yes, you're an off-tank, and that's not traditionally a shot caller role, but you should still be like looking around and be wary for where the rest of your team is, because the off-tank's role is more or less twofold. You need to manage the aggression that your main tank can actually handle and like apply, as well as protecting or creating a space where it's safe for your team to operate. And right now, you're kind of just standing in the middle of an alley, arbitrarily doing damage, which is very unlikely to lead to a kill, and more or less waiting to die and be punished for your mistakes.
They're pushing up pretty aggressively.
So your Orisa's finally here, and I think your Junkrat's here too. Oh, please! Melee, goddammit!
Oh, someone's low Zarya.
Even if it's not going to lead to the kill, that needs to be habit. Like, if that 30 damage doesn't kill them, but they're 30 health lower so that you can actually chip them down. Nice. Headshot. Come on. Zarya is really important to land the headshots on.
Zarya's
Her hitbox is so easy.
Nice.
Nice. You got 2 kills, so now, whenever you get to this sort of situation, God damn it, I don't care about pronunciation of melee. So once you get to this situation, I would place money on the fact that one of you is going to ultimate, or use your ultimate. It's just probably, you might do it, but this is very common for teams that have the advantage to try and use ultimates to to win the rest of the fight. But if you're 4v6, the team that is as 6 should not use ultimates. So it's very, very common in Platinum to see people use ultimates to try and like win the fight or get the play of the game, because they see that they have the capability to get 3 kills with their ultimate. But what they don't realize is that the opportunity to get those kills with their ultimate only exists because the team fight is already won. So ultimates need to be used to gain an advantage, like the Riptire was used, but then after that you need to clean up without the use of your ultimates. His turning does seem slowish. It doesn't seem that bad.
Good pick on the Ana. Alright, I'm push up, be aggressive on.
Look, I fucking called it. I fucking called it. Jesus Christ. Somebody owes me money. Like, you were already up 2. And now up 3. And your Moira just used Coalescence. I knew it was going to happen. 100%. It was coming. So, shit like this, mistakes like this, is the reason people get stuck in Platinum.
On this. Nice.
Nice.
They're saying nice, but this is a horrendous waste of resources.
1 hit. Alright, pull back, pull back. Yeah, they're respawning, pull back. That was a good effort.
Yeah, respawn.
No, that's just Moira players. They always ult for no reason. True. True.
Let's try to combine the Orisa
Whoa,
Soldier
pick the
ult
Moira.
insight. Nice pick.
So, when you pick the Moira like this, it's a 6v5, right? And you should be ignoring the payload. Even on defense, if the attackers lose a person, you should crush them all the way back to spawn. So just...
Alright, Soldier, when you get your...
Like, you... You guys just won a team fight, right? You just won a team fight. The Moira is dead. Their, like, primary source of healing is dead. And you're like, you know what? We need more damage. So we're going to drop Supercharger here. And a second ult is now being used on a team fight that has already been won.
Your ult. Alright, here we go, here we go.
That Reinhardt's flanking for Shatter. That was telegraphed so hard. Come on! Oh, so telegraphed. And if you're a Rein main, you should see what this Reinhardt is doing. And if you recognize yourself as being guilty of this, you should feel bad. Watch what this Reinhardt does here. Watch what this Reinhardt does.
Alright, Soldier, when you get your ult... Alright, here we go, here we go.
So, like, there's literally no reason that a Rhine with a weak shield and no Moira alive will be walking forward into a supercharger other than to shatter.
Whoa, pick the Moira.
Nice pick.
So, Coalescent or Supercharger is going to come down. There it is. Reinhardt keeps moving forward.
Alright, here we go.
That's a flank shatter coming in.
He's looking for it.
And you use your ult!
No way.
Unbelievable.
I'm asleep though. Alright.
Watch
he
out
goes
for
in
the-
Oh my god.
Nice.
Good night.
Anyone else gonna ult?
Careful
Dude,
getting
this
that.
hero is so hard to play.
Pull back. Pull back.
Soldiers behind.
We're behind.
God mercy, you've got Valkyrie, may as well pop it. Wow, there was like
Oh, right
5
there.
ults there, and that was 5 ults
Right
too
in
many.
front of me.
This is like classic Platinum. What did I say at the very beginning of this stream? The difference between Platinum and Diamond usually comes down to who can better use their ultimates.
It's okay.
They're
there's
coming
just-
in now.
Like, you've got good positioning here. You and Orisa have good positioning. Your Orisa's a little tiny bit farther back than I'd like, but that's going to be me being pedantic more than anything.
Yeah, I've got ult. I've got ult.
A nice hook here would seal the deal. They're getting free distance here. I don't like that your Orisa... Oh, that's a free kill, and she wasted her nade, too. That should be called out. Anna's grenade is one thing that you would refer to as a universal call-out. Because if her nade is down, she's just an easy target for flankers or DPS or anything. So that Anna was literally one and used her grenade, so she could very easily be killed.
Fuck, that was wasted.
Alright, pushing it, watch for ground.
Graviton?
Soldier back left.
Oh, they right there.
Rushing
Grab.
him away.
Yeah.
Zarya's
So
trapped fine.
now here you do want, like, you're 2 down yourself, so here you do want to try and, like, bait the grav if you can. There's not a lot you can do to bait the grav other than pretending you're strong, because you're at 4, so the last thing you want to be doing is giving them free distance, which you've been giving them the entire time, right? You're kind of just backing off the payload. So this team fight is lost. So you don't want to delay the lost team fight for any longer than you have to, or give them any more ground than they have to, right? So let's do blackboard. Let's do a blackboard. So this is King's Row. Now this is King's Row. This is King's Row. And the payload started here, and this is where you started originally, right? And then, so the payload was here, and your Orisa was a coward, so she kept backing off and backing off and backing off, and the payload is now about here, and you guys are here. But now you're here, and you're -2, right? So it right now is a 6v4 in favor of the other guys. And you're -2 here. So you know that the fight is lost. So you can't fight them because you're down. So what you're going to continue doing is you're going to continue backing out forever. What you should have done is, regardless of this fight being won or lost, you should have fought them here. So that if they won the team fight, then they would start pushing as you're respawning. But here the payload was moving. They got 2 picks on you, so the payload is going to keep moving as you're retreating. And you're likely not going to get a recontest here, where this one team fight was lost, and it was lost. So if you know it's lost, it is doubly important. It is doubly important that you fight on the payload to prevent it from getting any more distance. Because one of the things about payload management is for each lost team fight, you want to minimize the amount of distance that the payload travels while you're regrouping. So basically, long story short, fight on the payload, die on the payload. Don't try and retreat and die like a little bitch. Because they got the payload to about here without even having to win a team fight. They're going to officially win the team fight here, and they're going to push it the rest of the way in for complete free. So, like, just completely free. So they're going to gain about 3 minutes of advantage on you. Well, let's be conservative, and let's say they probably gained 2-minute advantage here because of your mistake in not contesting the payload with your Orisa. Feels like you need a soundtrack when you enter Blackboard in Overwatch to explain. When you get a promotion to Gold Tier Streamer, we're getting you overhead map views of every map so you don't have to stick around drawing them every time. You don't like my pink scribbles? Banned. Why not back off to regroup when you're 2 down instead of suicide and feeding ult charge, specifically in lower levels where the enemy won't chase? Because the point is, they are going to take forever regrouping, right? They're going to take like 40 seconds. And if you have to regroup off of every pick or whatnot, then you're just going to be constantly regrouping. It's way better to fight and buy time, and then everyone take that 40 seconds at the same time. So instead of basically having them push for 44 seconds for free, you always want to be fight, fight, fight. You'll see me when I play tank, I make the opponents fight for every single inch of the payload. Even if I have 1,000 deaths, you know, I will just force my team to fight on the payload on defense repeatedly. When should you try to escape instead of die on the payload? When should you try and escape instead of die on the payload? If it's like, if an ally, for example, hasn't died very recently, like if there was probably about 5 to 10 seconds since the last allied death, and you're not already on the payload, and you think you can escape safely, that's probably the time you would do it. Because if the payload is already moving, and an ally died like 8 seconds ago, you going to the payload is going to stop it, but then the timer is going to reset on your death. So ideally, you're already fighting on the payload, and if you're already on the payload, then you keep fighting there. But if you're off the payload and you can't like get on the payload within about 5 seconds, and you feel like you can get out, then get out and stabilize. But here, the big problem here is that you guys can't get out. You're fucked here. You and the Orisa are fucked here. Regrouping is not the best thing to do on Koth, especially if you have control of the objective. If you have control of the objective, you need to stagger into oblivion, one at a time, buying as much resources as possible, unless it's like close to 99, and then it changes. If you are not in control of the point on Koth, then yes, you regroup almost immediately.
They're not going to use grab. Oh, shoot. Soldiers behind me.
Their Orisa's dead. I bet they're going to get out. This is plat. Sorry, Zenkai. You bet wrong. Give me money.
Shit, in charge. Alright, just contesting best I can right here.
Right, so they started this push from behind bookstore, and they took all of Streets phase for complete free. Because you guys didn't regroup, you gave them free distance, and you just staggered constantly. Well, staggered yourselves constantly. So, like, think about where this push started, right? Let's move back a little bit. I'm just going to let this play, and you're going to watch.
And now.
This is where the payload was, right? This is where this fight started. This payload was here, and throughout this entire long, drawn-out, and painful affair, they pushed this payload entirely through Streets phase. Just watch how this occurs.
Their soldier's gonna have ult here, so let's keep an eye. I'll try and stay focused.
The Hog got out at least, but not in time to recontest, and that's the only thing that matters. So at that point, it wouldn't have mattered whether he lived or died.
Yeah, I've got ult. I've got ult.
Alright, cool. They're pushing up.
Ana's one. Fuck, that was wasted.
Alright, they're pushing it. Watch for grab. Soldier back left.
Oh, they right there grab.
Pressuring him away.
Zarya's trapped on point.
They're not going to use grab. Oh, shoot. Soldiers behind me.
And they did it the right way, right? They didn't use ults to kill you. They knew they had the advantage. They knew they didn't need ults to kill you, and they just killed you. So now going into third phase, not only did they get Streets for free, but they're going to be going into third with all of their ultimates, and you're pretty royally fucked.
Shit, in charge. Alright, just contesting best I can right here.
So they probably have Grav and Hammer and Coalescence and Visor.
Try and touch him.
I don't think they have Dragon yet, and they do have... So they have 5 of their ultimates online right now.
One to hold it, please.
LOL!
Yeah, they have 5 ultimates right now. You're
2.5
fucked.
minutes. We can ult his defense here.
No, you're fucked. Both your support ults are probably going to be wasted, because Valk is going to be answered by Visor. Coalescence will probably be answered by Grav. Riptire is really the only bet you have for kind of trying to reverse this. Supercharger won't do much, and yours won't do much. So basically, your entire defense is going to come down to your Junkrat.
Jayne, no, we're good.
Like, yeah, it's mostly the Orissa's fault, right? But you have this magical thing called a mic. And it's in the same way that I win games because I do a little bit of micromanagement to fix minor errors, anyone can be a shot caller in solo queue, right? If you know the answer and you realize your teammates are making a mistake, don't just be like, well, guess I'll lose. Try and suggest an alternate means of attack, right? Suggest a plan. Be the leader your team needs to win. Like in organized team play, scrims, tournaments, shit like that, it's usually the main tank or a support player who's a shot caller. But this is ranked. Nobody gives a fuck. Just call the strats, call the plans, call the movement.
Alright, we have both support ults.
Micromanagement, yes.
I think we should save the Mercy for... Or, sorry, not the Mercy. Let's save the Moira for the grab. Right now.
Huge hook.
Good way to avoid that. She wasted it.
There's Valk. I would expect to see Visor come out.
No more ults. Let's hold this point here.
I do like the call. Did you hear that? He said no more ults. The Roadhog said no more ults. That's good.
Moira right side.
Nice. Moira's behind.
Moira, you stay. She's still behind us back right.
I'm on her.
Hanzo and Reinhardt and not on point.
That was a really good call.
Right side.
There's Nan. Oh, you're getting wrecked. Rip your entire team.
Hanzo's half.
Careful, we're down 3. Keep pushing. Good. Take
Ooh, the flank visor.
I'm saving it!
Okay, those were some good takes. We can hold.
I'm saving it! I'm dead! Pretty funny. On Roadhog, you always want to go at the left on this point because there's a nice pit you can hook people into, right? Right side doesn't do you a lot of good. Left side, you can hook people, just put them right in the pit. And now they're off Zarya onto Hog of their own.
Shield broken. Alright, they're being pushed back. Good job. No more ults. Alright, they're resetting here. Watch the Tracer coming in.
They fucking a million and they still haven't picked a counter for me.
Oh, huge hook.
Ryan is down.
Your hooks are awesome.
We're gonna hold him right here.
Nice. Pick on the Moira.
Tracer left.
There's a Tracer in Mega. Tracer left.
40 seconds.
Moira's. Oh shoot!
Did your Moira just step into the pit? What the fuck? So the big thing here is that your individual play is actually pretty decent. Your ultimate usage is questionable. But other than that, and your lack of melee or your lack of step forward or a lack of any kind of coherent hook combo, your hooks are good, your aim is good, your cooldown management is good. Just kind of like understanding your animation cancels a little bit better, and your ultimate and your hog play is honestly pretty solid. Most of the errors in this game have made by other members of your team or macro level errors, which are very hard to kind of coordinate in solo queue without being a shot caller. So honestly, pretty good play. Like, if you had told me you were diamond, I probably would have believed you. I could see this being low diamond, like 3,000, 3,100. But, you know, I see this Roadhog play as solidly 2,900, but you could probably get away with it at 31. So, not bad.
That's a bold strategy, my
Bro,
friend.
what the fuck did you do?
I
Get it?
dashed and I forgot the hole was there.
Wow.
Yeah, and holding this position here and just hooking people into the pit is incredibly powerful.
If we lose, I'm reporting you.
Well, that guy's getting reported.
But yeah, I would deserve that as well. Alright, if they lose this push, watch the Hanzo ult.
Alright, I got Ana on.
Punish the Rhine, punish the Rhine.
Ana's down.
Rhine's dead.
Just ult! Thank you.
I need healing. No.
Ah, you knocked him out of it.
We got this, friends.
Yeah, they lost this.
Yeah, so your ult
Great
timing and
job,
your
boy.
ult usage needs to get better. And then your actual, like, mechanical hook combo.
Well done.
Nice.
But other than that, you don't have a lot of errors. Your positioning is honestly quite good.
Nice.
Your positioning when you're not with your main tank is good, and the only reason your positioning when you are with your main tank is bad is because your main tank's positioning is bad, but you're electing to be with your main
I'll
tank,
pick fire, and
which
if
is
they
good.
have, like, hit scan, or if I'm doing badly, then I can switch.
That's cool. Let's see. If you're gonna go fair, I'll go Zarya. We could go
Zarya, eh? Switching off the hog.
Shooting. I mean, I could play Hanzo for the combo, but I'm not toxic, so...
Nah, no worries. Play what you're strong on.
Didn't you hook a Lucio, or was it a Nana? Excuse me.
Would be the other tank we want, or do
It's
you guys
just
wanna
milk
go,
now. I've done all my
one of you
cereal.
wanna go tank?
If I'm running Zarya,
You could just go, like, full dive, get, like, Winston or something.
I play a ton of either Winston.
That is true.
or
Yes.
Winston or Diva?
You could turn around more while using Babe
Okay.
just to avoid getting headshot. Yeah,
Either of those. would
my
be-
cereal's done. It's
What
just
healers
milk in the
is
bowl.
also the question. Yeah, Lucy.
Or
Ooh,
Lucio.
do we want to run triple
Ana.
tank maybe with the Pharah?
We've got the Mercy.
Drink it from the
Let's
bowl, you
go.
coward.
Do you want to go with the
So many opinions on how to drink cereal. Holy smokes.
Do it.
It's hard to stop a triple tank if you don't have a Reaper. So
Yeah.
Well,
So I'm thinking
triple tank is almost never run with Winston, so...
three tanks. We'll focus on the dive, trying to stick together with Lucio. Mercy
yeah,
can fly
all right.
back
We
with
need.
him.
Although, this is a pretty decent composition. You are going to basically have to force... Like, this is non-traditional, but, you know, it has its synergies, right? We've got the pharmacy that's going to stick together, and then Lucio, who's going to be sticking to the ground. And as long as Diva and Winston don't try to frontline, you should be okay. You'll need to play really passive here because you're not going to get any strong healing from the Mercy. So kind of like playing a much more passive backliner. The only real weakness of this comp is that you have Lucio for 3 tanks. But as long as you play passive and the Platinum tanks here, you know, pick their dives carefully, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But knowing that it's Platinum, you're not going to play this off wrong. And pretty much if any tank, if they're running an Orisa or a Roadhog, this composition is hard countered. And you'll need to swap. But if they're running like a Reinhardt Zarya, you could pull this off. So, but if they're running Orisa Roadhog, you're fucked.
Who's gonna shot call? Because we need to focus fire with low damage.
I mean, I can tell you who's half,
Yeah.
because I'm in the sky and
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, that sounds good. You'll have.
All right,
a
so
good,
Farah
line
calls
of sight.
shots. Farah initiates call shots. Monkey goes in. We all go in.
Sounds good.
Alright, watch me get fucking hit by
Lucio needs to
Widowmaker.
stick with Zarya so that Zarya can dive with us.
Sounds good.
It's not a
They've
bad
got
call.
That's Widowmaker.
Hey, they have a
Widowmaker.
Reinhardt. This might work. They have an Ana too. You should dive that Ana like pretty much immediately. That
I'll
Ana's
just go
out of
Junkrat
position. She needs to
instead.
die. No, you're fair switching to Junkrat. What's their second tank though?
I'm watching for your dive, Winston. I'll show you when you go in.
I'm
You
diving
can
the
dive
sniper.
Widowmaker. I'll dive Widowmaker with you.
She hopped off.
Careful. I missed my shield on you.
There's not a lot you as a Zarya can do, right? Like, again, almost pretty much the only corrections that I'm being able to find in your play right now are like shot calling or errors that can be solved through communication. But like we saw that the Ana was out of position, and if you saw and recognized that Ana was out of position, you could have called for your tanks to dive them. But then you decided to kind of like move to the right side of statue as if you would if you were running like a traditional Reinhardt comp. And then your Diva goes up for the Widowmaker, and your Winston dives into literally the entire enemy team without the Diva. So no defense matrix. And your bubble doesn't get you any energy, and the monkey basically feeds immediately. So I'm going to let it play for a while and only pause when I see mechanical errors on your part, because at this point, the mistakes of your team are pretty extensive.
Let's keep pushing. Free, yeah, getting off there is good.
I'm hit.
Your Mercy got that res? What the hell?
Really weak. Alright, keep fighting this.
I need heals.
Hey, Ryan's one.
I'm.
Ryan's one. Go.
Ryan is down. Fight on point.
McCree's on point. McCree's on point.
I
Thanks
like
for
your
the
right
bubble.
clicks. Ah, it's too bad.
Ah, they wiped us.
That's okay. That was a good effort. We can get it this time.
Guess I'll lose.
I've got
Damn, we
73
didn't
on
get two ticks.
on ult.
My ultimate is charging.
How's Farah working with the sniper? Yeah.
Ah!
I wanna go
Yeah.
distract.
Then
You
she
jinxed her!
only
You
killed me
jinxed
once,
her!
I was on the ground.
It's up to
Yeah.
you guys whether I dive Ana first or if I dive the Widow.
I'd say dive the healers first.
I think it's fine because we have Winston
Like-
and D.
They have an Anna, and like you just saw her walk to the front line and waste a sleep dart. She should just be murdered for that shit.
To count the Widow.
Yeah.
I need heals. The
I'm watching
Zarya's
for
on
the,
me big.
Winston dive. I'll shield you when you go.
Going in.
Alright, push it in, push it in.
Nice
push it in.
bubble. Your Winston's diving like in the middle of them though, right? So he's just gonna die every time.
This is too much damage.
They got 3.
Like this is the sort of thing where I talk about all the time about platinum tanks should learn to operate without healing, right? That Winston might have got away with that dive if you had like Mercy Moira, because the amount of healing that Mercy Moira puts out is fucking absurd. But he's never going to learn that that is the wrong thing to do if you have enough healing to bail you out. So what, like my phrase that I parrot over and over and over again is that healing is like heroin. You know, the more you have, the more you want and the more you need. So if that Winston has learned to play Winston, knowing that there is a Mercy and a Moira like backing him up all of the time, he's never going to learn to play a proper Winston. So, like at high level dive, a Winston and a Diva more or less survive between the two of them, only using a Harmony Orb and then returning to a healer after their dive is complete, right? So the higher levels, Winstons and Divas can keep themselves alive with only a Harmony Orb. So having both a Mercy and a Moira pocketing you will lead to bad habits. So if you're ever playing tank and you go, oh, there's not enough healing, like unless you were standing there not getting shot for like a solid 10 seconds and you still weren't getting healing, the problem is not the healing, and maybe you should adjust your playstyle or the way you're approaching the enemies. But stop relying on overly abundant healers to stay alive as a tank and learn to play tank in a way that handles aggression and pressure that doesn't actually require a shit ton of healing. I think there's a minor mechanical error. He should be using a little bit of left right click. His right click seemed okay. Hey, Black Cloud! No! 3 months in honor of your old name, JN3. Thanks, bud. I appreciate it. Appreciate the
3
support,
months in honor of your old name, Jayne 3.
Yes, you're like his right clicking isn't optimal, but he is using right click at the right time, which is pretty much all I'm going to ask for a Platinum Zarya. He's doing it certainly good enough at this point. How to do that thing you just said? Well, instead of diving into the center of 6 people, try to dive the back line and then retreat farther back into enemy territory so they have to peel and chase you. Right? It's one of my most watched clips on this channel. Give me a second. It's like one of my most watched clips on this channel. Clips. Let's go find it. Yeah, this thing right here. If there's a backline, if there's a backline and there's a front line on the enemy team,
Oh, God.
as a Winston, you do not dive the front line, and you don't dive between the front line and the back line. You dive onto, or preferably behind the back line, so that the front line has to peel for the back line, or else the back line will die. Okay? This peeling of the front line to the back line puts them in this location, which has suddenly created an area of space for your team to push in. A shield tank takes space with frontal pressure. A dive tank takes space by being a disruptor and forcing the retreat or the loss of their backline. Please. There you go. So it's like, what this Winston doing is in your videos, he's jumping literally between the backline and the front line, so he's getting fucked by both. But if he jumped kind of like on and slightly behind the backline, and then he kind of retreated away from the backline, he could draw the pressure off that way, and the front line wouldn't be able to damage him as severely as they are right now. Come on. It's just, yeah. Learn to play without healing. A lot of the times when I'm coaching a team, and I did this during the Mercy meta too, when the meta for dive was Mercy Zen. I told the Mercy that she was only ever allowed to damage boost, and only between team fights or while regrouping she could heal. So these were like 4.3k teams, right? So like mid to high Grandmaster teams, I told them that their Mercy was only allowed to damage boost their DPS during team fights, and was not allowed to heal. They had to rely on the Harmony algorithms, their Zenyatta, and it thoroughly improved their dive play overall once their tanks stopped relying on Mercy heal and started becoming more creative and careful and methodical with their actual dives. Wow, this is why I dropped from Diamond to low gold, playing lots of Winston. Well, I'll get back to Diamond then. You can do it, bud. I believe in you.
3 of us.
Yeah.
They got all of the rest of us.
I forgot that was happening. Oh my god, what a hilarious thing to unpause into.
I almost have grab. We have Winston and Mercy ult. Sarah, you just popped.
Alright, I'm gonna go DPS because we just don't have the damage to keep going
fine.
in.
Okay.
This time, let's try and push around right side, then we'll dive in.
Reinhardt's out of position.
He's pulling back, Alright, push right side around statue. Alright, ready for you to dive in whenever.
I love that
I'm
you're
gonna go
right
get the
clicking
winner.
constantly and you're getting all charged. Like, even though your team's losing the fight as badly as it is, you're pretty
Yeah,
close to
let's go.
Graviton. There's no real
I'm going
reason
for
for
it.
you to
I'm going
bubble
all the way
there.
around.
He wasn't jumping on anything.
Push in.
Oh boy.
Step grab. Their group left side.
Got the Zarya bubble.
Don't counter grab. Please don't counter grab! No!
I'm getting off Zarya.
I knew that was coming
They just wiped us there.
Ah,
Just so
come
we can break the
on.
Rhine
Oh,
shield.
I just switched to Roadhog here. I'll change.
Okay, that worked. Okay.
What do you want to go? Or you want to go Roadhog?
damn it.
You know,
I can go.
I'll.
Here, you go
Fuck,
Hog.
you know,
I'll
I'll
go
stay
Winston.
Winston. Okay, alright.
You almost never
We have at least one good push, maybe 2.
want to counter grab. You just.
Alright, for now let's just stand Rhine shields, and then I can try and hit them in.
Alright.
Is there a time when you should counter grab? Yeah, there are occasionally times when you can counter grab. Like if you
In my
have.
defense, I was planning to switch anyway, don't hate me.
I hate you. I hate you so much. The only time that you would want to kind of like counter grab is if for some reason the grab would save your team. For example, if the only thing that they have to swing into your grab is a Reinhardt, if you grab him away from you, that might help, and then you can kind of like counterattack it. Or if there's a Pharah already lurking and they don't have some sort of combo ult to kill you. Or you could counter grab if you had a support ult and they didn't. But support, like counter grabbing is really fucking weird, and I almost never recommend it. So when the just plat things command gonna come? We've got a plat Zen command. We should probably have like a flank Zarya command or something. Or like a huge grab. We need to have just more mocking commands in this channel. It's kind of funny. But yeah, like just, you know, maybe if you got grabbed first, but your Pharah was already in position for a 6-man grab and the Pharah wasn't caught in the grab, you could do it and try and wipe them before you kill you. But it's super situational, and especially when you didn't have any like coordinated combo to go with that Graviton, that was like, and you were telegraphing that you had grav, right? The way you were acting was telegraphing that you had grav. So a smart enemy team would have recognized that, spread out, countered, or if they had a counter to you, just not fucking worried about it and baited it out. But you just had it in your mind. You had it set in your mind that you were going to grav here, that when you got graved, you didn't readjust based on the new information and you just hit Q. So you always need to be, like, if you go in with a plan, you have to be willing to change that plan as the situation evolves.
Over and fade. Push on the right side.
Remember that awesome... Yeah, that's exactly the grab I was talking about. The flank grab onto a bastion while solo. Now you're monkey. You should always retreat while firing, right? You just kind of like backed away with your ass towards the diva, like, heh 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 heh. You should at least be shooting while you're retreating.
Front shield comes down.
Sick jump.
That.
McCree's on. The Widow was too.
McCree's down. Fight on point.
Nice bubble. You should be calling... Did you see that, Anna? This Anna is getting away with so much. Oh my god, their Anna is just free, which is insane because you're running pharmacy plus dive tanks. But their Anna has been like frontlining, wasting cooldowns, just being a general ass, and she hasn't been called out or punished once. Like, she just wasted another cooldown and then ran into hotel, and she has no route of retreat. So you need to have a better awareness of where feasible targets are for you to dive and kill.
Alright, we got numbers, we can win this.
Someone's trapped. Reinhardt's trapped.
Okay, get him. Diva out of mech though.
Nice jump.
Widow down, go to point.
Nice.
There we go. On the left side. On it down.
Hey there, Anna finally died. It's like her first death all game. It's huge.
We're on point.
You could have done a short jump there, right? So this is something that a lot of really, I suppose, rookie Winstons... No! I alt-tabbed without pausing YouTube. That's going to be really annoying.
Down point, down point, down point.
Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Okay, so this is something that a lot of really shitty Winstons do. Is on Winston, in order to actually... So if they want to land on somebody, you know, if I want to land here, for example, and I know that like, if I try and jump like this, I'll overshoot it. A lot of really bad Winstons, what they'll do is try and jump vertically so that they come back down on their target. They'll kind of like jump up and then land on it. Whereas if you just hold S, you can go a surprisingly short amount of distance and still land on the target. So just learn your short jump, right? So if you're walking up to a ledge and then you switch to S right as you jump, you don't go very far at all. It's like from there to there, whereas if you jump normally, you know, you go, you know, I even hit that ledge and go far. So just learn to short jump so you spend less time in the air, because following that predictable arc, you're going to eat a sleep dart, you're going to get headshot by a Widow or something, whereas you can just short jump to land on things. So just you walk forward, and then at the very last moment, you switch to S, and you hold it throughout the jump, right? So I thought I might be able to kill myself on this jump, but switch to S the last moment, and then hold it throughout the jump. So you go a very short distance, and pretty much the huge benefit about the short jump on top of that is if you're shooting a target, you can actually jump and then land on the other side of the target without ever having your Winston beam disconnect off them. So if you're shooting, and then you kind of like short jump, you can turn in midair to keep your gun on them the entire time. So, you know, shoot, short jump. I kind of fucked it up there, but, you know, they're always going to be in range of your lightning gun. So especially if they, you know, if you're attacking somebody and then it's an Anna, for example, you're chasing the Anna, and she goes to, like, sleep dart you. What you do is you keep walking up until you're at the bubble's edge, and then as soon as she's outside of the gun's range, you boom. You short jump to finish her off. So if you play Winston and you don't know the short jump, well, you've got an appointment with the practice range. So, yeah, basically, stand right here, and then you should just, if you land pretty much any farther than there, you're doing the short jump wrong. Yep. So, go into the practice range, put yourself really close to this ledge, and then short jump across. That was too far even. So put yourself really close to the edge, short jump. There we go. So that's your short jump. Whereas if I'm not doing the short jump, fuck, I messed it up again. If I'm not doing the short jump, I'll show you how far I go. So just looking straight. Oop, right there. Oh, also another free Winston tech that you probably didn't know. So if you do it this way, if I just hold spacebar, I land at my spray, right? But did you guys see how I ended up over there? So this is... fuck. the next Winston tech I'm going to show you is basically a way to extend your jump. And it's really simple how you do it. So the way that you extend your Winston jump is kind of like with a skipping stone. Not sure if this tech has a name, but basically you press shift and then you just hold spacebar. And you skip. Look how much farther I got. So for diving really deep, just hold spacebar with your leap and you'll get sent way farther because you'll skip on landing. It's not a jump, it's a skip. So shift, hold space, bounce. And you get basically an extra 8 meters or so off your jump. Really good for chasing very long, very far targets. Yeah, that's your bonus Winston tech for the day.